Hello everyone. So good to see you here. I know it's been a very strange time for everyone, but the beauty of it is that we're getting to hear some live music being streamed from some of the concerts that we've done over the last couple of years. Tracy's been putting on some really cool things for us, and she asked me to talk a little bit about the piece that's coming up, which is called Strum. We performed it this past September. It's a piece by Jessie Montgomery. And I think one of the nicest things about having performed this piece is that I've known Jessie Montgomery since she was 12 years old. You know, knee-high to a, grasshopper. I guess grasshopper works perfectly well, since where I first met her was out in these fields in Canada at a music camp that a friend of mine runs. I knew her from when I was in music camp. We went to school together at Oberlin. She started a music camp. I've taught at it for many, many years, and in the very early years, when I was probably in my mid-20s, and for 4 or 5 years, Jessie Montgomery, as a kid, she was, in her early teens. I think I probably first coached her when she was 12 years old or so. Unbelievably talented person, just so gloriously talented. As a kid, I remember coaching Haydn Sunrise, first movement. She played so beautifully and naturally, I just really said very little to her, because if anything, I was more likely to go up to her and say, hey, what do you use for a fingering there? That looks really good. So I've known Jessie for so long, and those years were very special at this particular camp called Music at Port Milford. And it reminds me of the full circle that I've come in my life, where when I was 12 years old, I appeared at a music camp in New Hampshire, Apple Hill, and I absolutely adored the people who were the coaches. They treated us like we were little artists. It wasn't like being in school. We were doing incredibly fun things, playing chamber music all day, playing sports, staying up late at night, having dances, doing crazy things, lying under the stars and talking about the nature of the universe and of God and of creation. And, it was just, things that are irreplaceable. And I had the same experience then in reverse when I first met Jessie, and there she was coming to this music camp. And so the fact that she then came back as a faculty and got to play with us at Music at Port Milford some years ago. So I got to play some quartets with her as a professional, and she has since done extremely well, both as a violinist and as a composer. And this piece she's written, Strum, it's one of these pieces that really comes out of the nexus of art music that's made out of dance rhythms. So the feeling of the piece is extremely joyous and upbeat. It's called Strum because, of course, the violinists, Krista and I in this case, having to do an awful lot of strumming of our instruments. And violins are not designed to be strummed by their very nature. Yes, you can play pizzicato. Like the very beginning of the piece starts with a nice pizzicato line where you're playing, one string at a time with your finger. It's later in the piece where we begin to actually play it almost like a small guitar or a ukulele. And because it doesn't have a flat bridge, it's extremely difficult to make strums come out sounding even and beautiful on the violin. But the piece, I could tell that for Jessie, this was an exploration of this whole idea of strumming. She has 2 or 3 sections in the piece that end up using beats, sort of odd rhythms. So, ching 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 ching. She does these things where she sets up a rhythm in 9, except the end of it is a little twisted sideways, and then she does a second section that is also in 9 but feels extremely different than the first. And they all have a sense of great playfulness. And she's very good at writing solos for each of the instruments and putting little duets together. The whole thing begins with a sort of aria between the cello and the violin in a really gorgeous way, and it ends, joyously and happily, and everyone's, leaves humming something, or at least dancing. So, Strum by Jessie Montgomery. I do hope you enjoy it.